Hiya, I'm Jasmine at SafeLock Systems, and this video shows the process to add a user to a GARD 700 series SafeLock. The video will cover both the non-display and display versions. When we add a user to a 700 series lock, we must also define what the user can and can't do, and whether the user is to be a standard user who would just open the lock, or a manager who has other permissions. The process is slightly different depending on whether the master code or manager code is used. The master can add a manager and standard users, whilst the manager can only add standard users. Once the code has been added, it must be changed before it can be used, and so a default code could be used initially. Here is a list of the processes for the non-display and display versions and the codes used to define privileges. So I'll start with the non-display version, and here is my note of the ID to use, a default code, whether I want the user to be a standard user or a manager, and what privileges I want the user to have, which is open and audit. On a non-display keypad, we start with the command #50. You then enter a code to authenticate, which can be the master or manager code. I'm going to use a manager code. You then specify the ID that you want to add, and mine is 02. You then add in the default code to be used, and mine is 020202. You must then specify whether you want it to be a standard user or a manager. I'm adding a standard user, so I'll press 2. You must then specify the privileges that the user has. I want this user to open and audit, so I'll use code number 3. You can then press enter to complete the process. The triple green flash and beep means that it was successful, and now the user can change their code to something new so that they can use it to open the lock. On a display keypad, if you're using the manager code, you need to press enter first to indicate to the lock that you want to do something other than open it. I'm going to be using the master code, so I can just enter that code to get to the menu. Scroll down until users is highlighted and press enter. Add is already highlighted, so you can press enter. Here you must specify the ID to be used, so mine is 02. At this point, you're offered the option of standard user or manager. If you're using the manager code, this option isn't available. I'm adding a standard user. So I pressed enter whilst standard user was highlighted. You then input the new code. And it asks you to confirm. You must then specify the privileges. So on this menu, we can press enter to go into open privilege. You can see there that there are 5 underscores, which represent the 5 locks that may be connected. In most cases, there would just be 1 lock connected. So I'm going to press 1, which means that the user will have the privilege to open lock number 1. If I want to take that privilege away, I can press 1 again, so that it changes to an underscore. In this case, I do want them to open lock 1. So I'll press 1 again, and then press enter to return to the previous menu. I'll scroll down to audit so that it's highlighted and press enter. I do want this user to be able to audit lock number 1, so I'll press 1, and then press enter again to return to the previous menu. The next option is TDO pin priv, which basically means that the user would have the ability to override time delay if the feature has been enabled. I don't want this user to have that privilege, so I'm just going to enter back out into the main menu. So now we can scroll down to add user, press enter, and you get the success message and the triple green flash and beep. The user can now enter that code, and they are prompted to change it on first use.